And my heart sunk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I drove past that car every single morning. And you just feel horrible, like a sinking feeling in your stomach, because that's somebody's baby, right?
Somebody's baby. That is what Janelle Van said to a Fox 11 camera when she found out what had been inside the car she drove past every morning through the Hollywood Hills. A Tesla had been sitting on Bluebird Avenue for weeks, collecting dirt and parking tickets, with nobody reporting it stolen or coming to claim it. Inside the front trunk, in a black bag, was the decomposed and partially dismembered body of a 14-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, California. Her name was Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez. The car was registered to David Anthony Burke, the singer known to millions as D4D. On April 16, 2026, Burke was arrested by LAPD robbery-homicide detectives and booked into Los Angeles County Jail without bail on suspicion of murder. The story of how investigators got there begins much earlier.
Look, it's going to obscure my view from the gate. It's good?
If you try to run or if you try to resist, you will get hit with left feet or it's going to hurt.
I got you.
If you try to run, we have canine on premises and you will get bit.
I got you. All right, so the gate is locked. Do I open the gate? Sir? Open the gate.
David Anthony Burke grew up in Houston, Texas, and built one of the most remarkable origin stories in recent music. He was a Fortnite streamer before he was a musician. He started recording songs because he needed non-copyright audio for his gameplay montages. He picked up his iPhone, downloaded an app, and recorded in his sister's closet. What came out of that closet was Romantic Homicide, a breakout hit that went mega viral on TikTok in 2022 and turned him into a signed artist on Darkroom Interscope before most people his age had figured out what they wanted to do with their lives. He was signed, he toured, he opened for SZA, he released his major label debut album Withered in 2025 and went on a world tour. He had a Fortnite collaboration track with his own gameplay as the music video. He was 21 years old at the time of his arrest. The public image he had built was of introverted, emotionally sensitive artist, someone who stayed out of drama, who came from nothing, who made music that felt genuinely personal.
It was such an honor to just be a part of that, tour. I remember when I got the email that I was on, like I was just leaping for joy, because it was kind of like a rollout to that too. I remember SZA had mentioned me in 2 other interviews before then. She was on a Billboard interview where the interviewer asked her what her favorite artists are, and she included me as one of them. She was like, that D4 kid, that guy that makes like the emo beautiful music, and I was like, yes. And it was super viral on TikTok. And she was literally in Hawaii with one of her friends, and she heard my music in like a shop, and she just asked the cashier who was playing, and it happened to be me. And that's like the most craziest random thing ever.
That public image is part of why the case landed so hard with people who followed him. He was known as a quiet, emotionally open artist, and the allegations now facing him sharply conflict with the persona Rennie fans believed they knew. Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez was 14 years old and lived in Lake Elsinore, California. Her family described her as a beloved daughter and sister. She had previously run away from home, and multiple missing person reports were filed before she disappeared the last time. The final official report was April 5, 2024, and her family last heard from her in May. What Celeste's family told investigators points to a relationship that allegedly began well before her disappearance. Her mother said Celeste had a boyfriend named David. Her brother said she told the family she was going to see a movie with him the night she disappeared, and other reported details, including matching tattoos and her presence in Burke's Discord community, were later cited as part of that picture. The gap between who Celeste was, a 14-year-old girl with her whole life in front of her, and how her story ended, is the center of gravity for everything that follows. Her community did not forget her.
My nephew went to school with her since kindergarten, and I just want to say, just as a whole, just if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want her to be forgotten. I just want justice for this little girl, because whatever happened to her, it wasn't just an accident. I don't want her to be forgotten.
Whatever happened to her wasn't just an accident. That is what people in her community said at her vigil before any arrest had been made, before charges had been filed, before the full picture had emerged. They did not need the official investigation to tell them what they already felt in their bones about a 14-year-old girl found dismembered in the trunk of a car. In late July 2025, a Tesla registered to David Anthony Burke in Hempstead, Texas, was parked on Bluebird Avenue in the Hollywood Hills. It sat there for weeks, collecting dirt and parking tickets, with nobody reporting it stolen or claimed.
I truly thought it was one of the homes over there and was one of their cars that they just left because they probably had another one.
That is what the car looked like from the outside, an abandoned vehicle in a neighborhood where people have multiple cars and leave them on the street. Nothing about the exterior signaled what was inside. By August 28, 2025, the city had it towed to an impound lot in Hollywood for parking violations. On September 8, 2025, workers at that lot reported a foul odor coming from the vehicle. Officers responded. When they searched the front trunk, they found human remains in a black bag, in a state of advanced decomposition, partially dismembered.
More heartbreak tonight, this time in Lake Elsinore, where a crowd gathered to remember the 15-year-old girl whose remains were recently found in the trunk of a car registered to the singer David.
She had been missing for more than a year. As Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell shows us, the community remembered the teen with a candlelight vigil.
LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division took over immediately. On September 16, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner positively identified the remains as those of Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez. She had been missing since April 2024. Based on the state of the remains, prosecutors would estimate her death occurred sometime in spring 2025, meaning her body had been in that vehicle for weeks before it was found, and the car had been sitting on a public street in the Hollywood Hills for that entire time. Reporting on the case also pointed to allegations that the car may have been driven through alleys to avoid traffic cameras, a detail investigators could use to support a concealment theory if it is backed up in court. Combined with the burn cage reported at the associated property and the weeks the car sat unclaimed on a public street, that became part of the broader evidentiary picture leading to Burke's arrest. What investigators did between September 2025 and April 2026 was methodical and deliberate. Search warrants were executed at Burke's Hollywood Hills rental property, a house managed under his manager's name but documented extensively in his own social media posts. And detectives were seen leaving with a computer and multiple evidence bags. A private investigator later reported that a burn cage, a high-heat incinerator device, was found on the property. The house was a short distance from where the Tesla had been abandoned on Bluebird Avenue. On November 24, 2025, the LAPD officially classified the case as a murder investigation. Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton stated publicly that accountability was coming and that no one was ruled out. A grand jury was convened, led by Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman.
Grand juries have investigative power, including subpoena authority, that regular police investigations do not. By February 2026, court documents named Burke as a target. In January 2026, a man named Neil Langston, described as a close friend of Burke's, was arrested in Montana for failing to appear as a witness before the grand jury. The DA's office had obtained an out-of-state arrest warrant to compel his testimony. A week later, Langston entered a Los Angeles courthouse and reportedly testified. Prosecutors' use of an out-of-state arrest warrant to compel a witness suggests how seriously they were taking Langston's testimony. More broadly, the investigation appears to have been built around securing testimony and evidence before making an arrest. On April 16, 2026, LAPD robbery homicide detectives arrested David Anthony Burke at a Hollywood Hills residence and booked him into Los Angeles County Jail without bail. The charge was murder. The LAPD's public information officer posted the announcement on social media within hours. Burke had been arrested for the murder of Celeste Rivas.
Rising music star faces serious allegations tonight.
TMZ reports David is a suspect in the death of a missing teen, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose dismembered body was found months ago in the trunk of his Tesla in Hollywood. Fox 11's Chelsea Edwards is live with the latest. Chelsea.
Well, Christine, we're standing on Doheny. We're just a few blocks from where that Tesla was found. Also a few blocks from where David was living at the time in a rented house. Now, it's been a while since we've had any developments in this case, but now TMZ reporting that David now considered a suspect.
A disturbing new development in the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the teen whose dismembered, badly decomposed body was discovered inside a Tesla at a Hollywood tow yard back in September. TMZ now reports the 20-year-old R&B singer David Anthony Burke, known professionally as David, is considered a suspect in her death. The dented, dirty Tesla with Texas license plate where Celeste's body was found was registered to David, and he lived just blocks from where it had been abandoned on Bluebird Avenue in the Hollywood Hills weeks earlier.
I truly thought it was one of the homes over there and was one of their cars that they just left because they probably had another one.
Janelle Van Eck drives past Bluebird on her daily commute and, along with colleagues and neighbors, noticed the Tesla weeks before it was finally impounded. When she learned that a body had been found inside,
and my heart sunk and I was like, oh my gosh, I drove past that car every single morning. And you just feel horrible, like a sinking feeling in your stomach because that's somebody's baby, right?
Celeste was remembered at a candlelight vigil in late September in her hometown of Lake Elsinore. Investigators still haven't released her cause of death and are now waiting toxicology results, a process that could take some time.
Everyone's so shocked. Everyone I work with, my colleagues, we all feel like it's not real. It just doesn't feel like this is something you hear about in this neighborhood. I guess it kind of just gives you a little wake-up call to be more aware of your surroundings and, if you see something, say something.
David and Celeste are believed to have been in a relationship. With so many ties between him and the case, many aren't surprised he's now been named a suspect.
I think it makes sense, and it's sad because I don't really care about who's guilty. I just hope they find the person that is guilty because a life has been taken. And that's unfortunately, that's the number one thing, and that's the most important, is that justice must be served and whoever did it should be found.
Now, LA District Attorney Nathan Hochman, we spoke to him today a little bit earlier, and he said that he's not received any paperwork yet regarding this latest development. We've also reached out to David's attorney for comment and have not yet heard back. Reporting live from the Hollywood Hills, I'm Chelsea Edwards, Fox 11 News. Marla, Christine.
All right, Chelsea, thank you.
The case would be presented to the Los Angeles County DA's Major Crimes Division on Monday, April 20th, 2026, for formal charging consideration. No charges had been filed as of April 17, 2026. Burke's legal team, including prominent defense attorney Blair Burke, issued an immediate statement. The actual evidence in this case, they said, would show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez and was not the cause of her death. That framing, the actual evidence, signals a defense that intends to fight on evidentiary grounds. With no death penalty available in California, no realistic plea deal in a case of this severity, and a well-resourced defense team already in place, this case is very likely headed to a jury trial.
I think it makes sense, and it's sad because I don't really care about who's guilty. I just hope they find the person that is guilty, because a life has been taken. And that's unfortunately, that's the number one thing, and that's the most important, is that justice must be served and whoever did it should be found.
Justice must be served, and whoever did it should be found. That is the position of the people who knew Celeste's community and who gathered to mourn her.
Tears flowing during an emotional candlelight vigil in Lake Elsinore. A large crowd gathering near a memorial on the street where Celeste Rivas once lived to mourn the 15-year-old's death.
I'm feeling heartbroken, devastated for hearing about the news. I didn't know Celeste personally, but it hits home.
Former classmates, friends Celeste grew up with, and parents, all shaken by her death. The teenager went missing after running away from home in April of last year. Her decomposing body was found more than a week ago in the trunk of a Tesla. The vehicle is registered to rising singer David. The 20-year-old has been on tour promoting his new album, but the remainder of the tour has now been canceled. The connection between the teenager and David is not clear, but he posted a song online titled Celeste. Investigators were seen removing items from the Hollywood Hills home David was believed to be staying in before heading out on tour. The house is a short distance from where the Tesla was impounded and taken to a tow yard. A Lake Elsinore neighbor recalls seeing Celeste walking home from school before she ran away. She created the memorial, giving everyone a place to grieve.
Even though I didn't know her, I just couldn't even breathe, knowing that a child had to go through that.
My nephew went to school with her since kindergarten, and I just want to say, just as a whole, just if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want her to be forgotten. I just want justice for this little girl, because whatever happened to her, it wasn't just an accident. I don't want her to be forgotten.
And while they're devastated by Celeste's death, people in this community say they want answers, and they want whoever is responsible for her death brought to justice.
Not a condemnation of a specific person before the courts have spoken, just the insistence that a 14-year-old girl's death deserves an answer and that whoever is responsible deserves to be held accountable for it. As of April 17, 2026, no credible news outlet, official statement, or verified source had confirmed any attack or incident involving Burke in custody. What is confirmed is the arrest, the charge, and the investigation that led to it. While investigators were building their case, the people of Lake Elsinore were gathering in different ways. In late September 2025, a candlelight vigil was held near the street where Celeste once lived. Former classmates, neighbors, parents, and community members came together weeks after her body was found and before any arrest had been made. A neighbor who didn't even know Celeste personally could not breathe when she heard what happened to a child in her community. She made a memorial. She gave people a place to go. That is what Celeste's death meant to the people around her. Not just to her family, not just to the people who knew her name, but to strangers who understood that a child had suffered something unthinkable and that her memory deserved to be kept. Celeste's family buried her privately on October 6, 2025, after the medical examiner completed the identification process. They had spent more than a year not knowing where she was, then weeks knowing she was gone, but waiting for official confirmation, then months watching investigators build a case without an arrest. They have publicly pushed for accountability and considered civil action against the LAPD over transparency in how the investigation was handled during the period she was missing. Whether the arrest of April 16, 2026 represents the beginning of the accountability they have sought for 2 years will be answered by what the DA files on April 20th and what a jury eventually decides. As of April 17, 2026, David Anthony Burke remained in Los Angeles County Jail without bail, and no formal charges had yet been filed. The DA's charging decision was due on April 20th. Much of the evidence, including grand jury testimony and the full scope of the forensic record, had not yet been presented in open court. What is confirmed is this: Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez was 14 years old. She went missing in April 2024 and was found in September 2025 inside the trunk of a car registered to David Anthony Burke. Burke has been arrested in connection with her death and maintains his innocence through his lawyers. The courts have not spoken. What will not change is that Celeste was a child, and the people who gathered for her in Lake Elsinore made it clear that they do not want her forgotten. One part of the case that should not be lost is how long Celeste remained missing before an arrest was made. Her family reported her gone multiple times, and by the time her body was found in September 2025, she had been missing since April 2024. That gap is a major reason her family has said they felt failed by the system. The arrest did not happen in isolation. It came after years of pressure from family and community, attention from the media, investigative work, and months of grand jury review. None of that brings Celeste back, but it is what moved the case to this point.
Where you are in the case? Why is Neo being called as a witness? Why hasn't David been arrested, or where's David at? Can you tell us anything? Thank you.
What part of this case do you think people should be talking about more? The evidence, the timeline, or the missed chances to protect Celeste? Let me know in the comments, and the next video is already on your screen.